So I know I said after the last stream, first and foremost, I don't know why the second camera isn't working. Not like I really need it working right now. It's not like I have a 3D printer running or anything, so it's not like it matters that that's a blue screen. But I know I said that I was going to mix things up and not just do, like, Ghost of Tsushima 3 times in a row. But between the option of this and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm going to be honest, I kind of wanted to play this. It was kind of the case. For just like a short weekday kind of stream here. I mean, I can stay up a little bit. I don't plan on going into work tomorrow. There isn't a whole lot of stuff for me to work on right now, so I'll go in another day is the plan. And so I was like, you know, I'm just gonna play a little bit of a weekday stream here, and I should probably do Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's been since shortly before I started this playthrough, which isn't that long ago, actually. It's currently the 4th of February, 2025, local time here. Well, local time is 8:36 p.m., so starting to get a little bit later in the day. And I was thinking about doing Valhalla, and I was like, you know, I kind of want to practice a few of these. So before the stream started, I started, like, actually looking in the menu at the techniques, and generally what I do with the thingamabobs here, and it's actually not too complicated. Each stance basically has, like, a different 3-hit combo of, like, the heavy attacks that all look different here. Like, really spin with that one. I like the kick of that. This one has a couple kicks. Kick, and then the big slash. And then as for the other attack, most of them are very similar in terms of how you execute them. This one is just you hold and release for a stab. This one is also just you hold and release, being for a kick, which is kind of fun to kick doodles. This one, no, hold on. This one, first and foremost, is another just hold and release. So 3 of them are just hold and release, and this one is hold, release, and then hit it a couple more times. Oh, I guess I can't continue to hold it. Oh, come on. Okay, it auto-releases after so long. Good to know. I didn't actually figure that out before. And then you hit it a couple times, then you do like a few hit combo out of it. Is the case. For some quick slashes like that, a quick 3-hit combo, if you continue to hit it. So, some slight differences there, but not actually too bad. And I was like, huh, well, I should try this out in actual combat and get the feel for it. So I ran over to this village here. I appreciate the 100 bits there, Anima.
Everybody stop. I need to say hi to the Hat Man.
I'm stopping. Everything's stopping here. How's it going today, Anima? So, I was like, let's just run over here and let's just try it out. And, you know, knowing lethal difficulty here, I'll probably die a whole bunch. And I came over here and I was just like, yeah, I'll try it a couple times, I'll die, and yada yada. And then I just kind of cleared everybody out. So, I mean, I guess so much for the bonus of assassinating enemy from above. So, I was just thinking about, like, backing out and then, just doing this, like, whole thing on stream. But then I was like, whatever. Let's just go around and... Oh, wait, there is still another guy? What? Really? But yeah, I forgot to ask how was JanLAN. JanLAN was pretty alrighty. It was the first LAN event where I basically just did, like, a whole bunch of multiplayer games non-stop for the most part. Did a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla when Guzma was looking to get a little bit of rest. But then he decided that he couldn't sleep and then joined me for a little bit of Valhalla, and then we switched back to multiplayer stuff, and it was just other multiplayer stuff all the way through. Oh, and Final Fantasy 16, because that's the game that he got me into, and he wanted to see me, like, finish it off there and stuff. So 2 single-player things there, but mostly multiplayer stuff, so it was interesting to do, like, a LAN event of multiplayer kind of games there. Like, we did a lot of that at Fragapalooza as well, so definitely a very different kind of event there in terms of the things that I'm playing. But yeah, was your first time seeing Guzma? That's one awesome dude, for sure. He has joined me for a LAN event before, being Fragapalooza 2023. So, a year and a half ago now. So I did do a bunch of multiplayer games at that, but I was also busy with, like, my Smash tournaments at that, so, you know, I was kind of doing a whole bunch of tournament management during that event. And Guzma also wasn't the only one that joined me during that event. A German exchange student that lived with us for about 6 months, 4 months, something like that, when I was in elementary school. It had been a long time since he came by and visited, and he was planning to come that summer for a decent while before Guzma was even planning on coming. And he just so happened to be coming, like, at the time that Fragapalooza was going on, just by coincidence. And I asked, like, hey, you're coming at the time I'm going to Fragapalooza, you want to come along with me? And he was like, sure, that sounds fun. We don't really have stuff like that in Germany, and if we do, it's sold out immediately and, like, way too popular. And Guzma wanted to specifically come for JanLAN, so Guzma and Finn met one another there, and we ended up playing a lot of things that all of us could play. Guzman and I also did like a decent few things that the two of us were doing. While Finn was kind of content, like, still being able to do his own thing or watching a bit of anime on the side and stuff like that. But yeah, there was 3 of us nerds at Fragapalooza 2023. And that was the first time that Guzma came and visited here, so... Like, he has been around here on stream, like, physically before. But a year and a half ago, it was some time ago, like, briefly during that event. So this was the second time doing a bunch of multiplayer stuff, so... It was interesting doing an event, like, all the way through of almost completely multiplayer kind of things. It was definitely some fun there. I definitely didn't go as hard as I normally do at LAN parties, because usually at LAN parties, it's just me. And I'm used to them from my 24-hour charity streams and my different LAN parties that I do of, like, really pushing my sleep. Of just go until I start getting tired, put my chair back like this, sleep for about 4 hours, get up, get back to streaming, go at it again. Guzma was not as used to it, and he really struggled to sleep in the venue. Well, I didn't quite set my chair all the way up, with like all the outside noise and like stuff going on, since you can't exactly go out and sleep in a vehicle like he did in Fragapalooza 2023, considering that was a summer event, but here, a winter event, you can't really go out and sleep in a vehicle without, like, freezing your ass off. So I told him, you don't want to sleep outside of my car, you're gonna want to sleep inside. And he struggled to rest a bit, and the following day was a work day for him, so the event ran Friday to Sunday. His flight was at, like, Monday at, like, 2:40 a.m., something like that. So I was bringing him to the airport at about, like, 10 p.m. the day JanLAN ended, so when that was still going on. And then he needed to get on the flight, get there really early, and then go into work immediately. And I was a little bit concerned about his sleep when he wasn't really resting all that well. Like, he tried the floor for a while, and that didn't work super well, what with, like, dust and stuff there, and also just the hard surface. I let him use my chair, which maybe was a bit better, but, like, still struggled a little bit there. So I was really concerned about his sleep. So usually Sunday morning, like, I would get up after late night streaming, and then do streaming up until, like, the internet gets cut off. Like, I go right until the end. JanLAN this year, I did not. After we got up that morning, I started immediately packing up, like, while he was still getting a little bit of rest to get home early. Let him get a little bit of rest at my place before the flight, because I wanted to look out for his sleep a little bit. So, I didn't go quite as hard at this event, because I figured it'd be pretty inconsiderate of me to just be like, hey, it's what I like to do to keep on going hard until, like, the absolute end of this event. Let's just destroy your sleep and, like, destroy your ability to function at work the next day. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. I feel like that'd be a pretty shitty friend move to do. So, didn't quite go as hard at JanLAN this time. Yoink! Here, I did the thing, Bob. So, still had some fun, but I did have to tone it down a little bit to the level of intensity that I usually go at LAN events, was the case. God, technique point, I can assign a thing now! Is what I can do. So yeah, that was JanLAN in a nutshell. So, twas interesting there. I am enjoying my mouse that I got at JanLAN. It's been a learning curve. But yeah, and let's see here. Yeah, I was JanLAN and a bromance with Guzma. He a good man. He do beat. You don't think I'd ever do that? You're a hurricane sleeper? What, like, struggle to sleep then? Does hurricane sleeper mean that, like, you're a deep sleeper? You'd be able to, how do I get up again? Oh, there we go. Be able to, like, rest at a venue like that, or not be able to rest at a venue like that? Or something or other. With all the outside noise and other things going on. I will also say, like, during Mario Party, there was a little bit of, craziness. I feel like when Guzma was here, I feel like the cold, like, he wasn't used to, like, this level of cold that's here. And, that level of destroying one's sleep. And I feel like both the cold during times that we were out and about, like, in the cold for prolonged periods of time, made him a little bit goofy, I feel like. It was kind of funny to watch, if I'm gonna be honest. But it made him a little bit silly, kind of like a high off of the cold. And I feel like the lack of sleep might have also contributed to that a little bit. And same with my little cousin. The older of my cousin's kids kind of got like that with the lack of sleep as well, I think, during this JanLAN. So when we were playing Mario Party together, those two especially were being like really rowdy in the middle of the night. Like, me and my little cousin's friend that we were playing with were just, you know, a decent bit more quiet, but those two were, you know, getting pretty excited about things, to the point that the main organizer of the event ended up shooting me a DM on Discord that I didn't notice at the time, so my little cousin relayed the message later when he ended up hearing in person, asking us to tone it down a little bit. I was like, oh, whoops. Maybe I should have told them to take it down a little notch. So things got a little bit rowdy there during the during the Mario Party stuff. It is worth noting. So a little smidge of craziness. Let's do this question mark while I'm over here. Troubler sleeper, too long to pass out, law tossing and turning, but the slightest noise wakes you up. Okay, so yeah, it would be difficult at a venue like that. So if you went to like a LAN event, would have to either go home to sleep like a lot of people do, or like sleep in a vehicle or something like that, like I do during the summers. Boys will be boys. And like I was just saying, I'm enjoying my new mouse. I won a mouse at the event. This right here. It's I don't know if I still have the... Oh, the box is there in the corner. I still have it. It is I don't remember what it is. Wow. If I can pick up the box. It is a Logitech G502 Hero gaming mouse, which is the fanciest mouse I have ever owned. So how they do giveaways at the event is like some of the organizers and some volunteers like myself will just supply prizes, like I supplied a 3D printed dragon in the style of this one here. A little bit smaller than this one, but one of these kinds of ones that stands in the front, which is really cool. Whoops, I say as it doesn't stand in the front, like that. I kind of stand up like that. I 3D printed and brought one of these as a prize and contributed it to the pool. When you pay for entry to the event, you get like a little raffle ticket. Numbers are drawn. If you get your number drawn, you go up, you pick a prize, and like you pick the next number for the next person that gets a prize. It was a little kid that like chose my dragon and was like playing around with it and seemed to be getting a kick out of it, so that really made my day there. And one of the interesting things that was there was this mouse, because right out of the box, I have to turn off the tracking on my camera or else this is gonna break it. Turn off the tracking. Out of the box, it looks like that, like it's all black, essentially, with like the LED lights going through. That's what it's supposed to look like. But this is the way that it is here. So, what happened with it is the person that supplied it as a prize took off, like, the individual pieces. From what he was telling me, it sounded like brought them to his workshop, did something with heat to create, like, these custom patterns here, and then reattach them to the mouse again to create one that, like, is wholly unique. I've never had this many buttons on a mouse before. I'm, like, learning them and getting used to it. It's very different here. Some of the stuff that he was describing to me about how he actually made it kind of went over my head a little bit, I'm gonna be honest. And if I properly saw, like, the table setups and interpreted things correctly, I think it was probably one of his kids that won the dragon that I 3D printed, which is kind of fun there. So, I guess that's just, like, a thing that he does and stuff somewhere in here. Where the heck did I put it? Was a little business card. So, hey, I know I have a very small audience, but hey, easy plug for the person that made my mouse that I got there. Wabam. It's that, apparently. Wow, easy plug. Hashtag not sponsored, but could be. So, yeah, apparently did some stuff with that, and I think it looks kind of cool. It's taken a little bit... Quick screenshot it. It's taken a little bit of getting used to it. Because, again, I've never owned a mouse this fancy. Like, I've owned a lot of gaming mice before. But, like, lower-end kind of gaming mice, like $30 Canadian, so, like, 22 bucks USD kind of gaming mice. Like, not exactly anything all that fancy schmancy. Just, like, low input delay and side buttons. That kind of thing. And I usually get a decent few years out of them. My last one that I was currently using, like, still worked fine functionally, but a lot of the paint was starting to come off and stuff like that. And, like, the glowy bit on it, there was a big glowy bit, like, right on this bottom center that was just supposed to come out of, like, the logo of the mouse maker. That was starting to come out, like, this entire section here because so much paint was coming off that it was just oozing light out, like, the whole bottom part of the mouse. So, you know, it wasn't exactly in the best shape. It was starting to fall apart a little bit, but still worked functionally fine. So, when I was looking through the prizes there, part of me thought about going for one of the mystery boxes that were there. Somebody brought in a couple mystery boxes, which were, you know, like, yay big, something like that, and had little graphics on the boxes of, like, what's in the box? And I was thinking about going for one of them just out of curiosity. When people chose them later, it turned out one was a $50 gift card to something. I forget what it was. I think it was a $50 scene card, so, like, for movies and stuff like that. Oh, this is a quest here. Man, I don't want to do that. While I'm rambling, let's just go to this. And the other one was Super Mario Lego, which is kind of fun there. Got a new mouse too recently. Nice, nice. Enjoying it so far. But yeah, and welcome on in, Redor Master. How could he do this? So it's been a little bit of a learning curve. Like, for one, I am used to a mouse just having, like, notches in its scrolling. So I can scroll the exact amount that I need to scroll, because I can feel, like, the notches that I'm scrolling past. But this one, at first, was just kind of free flow. It'll just, you can't really see it there. It would just kind of keep spinning, like that. It just keeps going until I stop it. And I was like, oh, that's a little bit awkward. And then as I'm, like, using the buttons, I'll tap it slightly, and then it'll do, like, an input of a slight scroll. And I was a little bit concerned. I looked up, like, oh no, is there any way I can change that? And the internet said, yes, it's this button right here. It switches it to notched mode. So now it just notches. So, like, it comes to a complete stop. It's kind of hard to see with the light there. Now you can see a little bit better. So now it's like a normal notched mouse, and then I click that, and it goes to, like, a free flow spinning kind of thing, which is really cool. So I'm, like, switching between the two of them, depending on whether I want, like, accurate scrolling, or whether I just want to get to, like, the bottom of a page ASAP. And I'm having fun just, like, playing around with it and fiddling with my mouse now. It's kind of the case. By default, a lot of the side buttons, or one of the side buttons is set to, like, display my current DPI, and 2 buttons on, like, the left side of the left click are set to, like, change my DPI by certain amounts, but apparently you can assign them to do different things like macros and stuff. So maybe when I'm playing, like, some sort of PC game in the future, I could assign, like, soundboard effects or something like that to it. Like, I could easily program something with auto hotkey to get something like that going. So, I mean, most of my games that I play are with a controller, but sometimes, rarely, I'll play with mouse and keyboard. Like, most recent case of that on the channel being Helldivers, for example. I would not play a shooter game on a controller. I'd have to be out of my mind for that, I think. So it has some potential. So I'm kind of exploring it right now and seeing, like, what I can do. So I'm playing with my new toy lately. Is kind of the case. My new JanLAN toy, and kind of enjoying it. But yeah, is that a Logitech? Because it looks like yours, custom Logitech. Yeah. So one of the people that brought prizes to JanLAN, like, it's a Logitech. It's a, what did I just say? G502 Hero Logitech. Whatever that means. Except with all the black pieces taken off, like, done in a custom finish, and then reapplied to make, like, a custom design there. So at some point when I get around to it, maybe I'll update, like, my screens here that have my old mouse that I was using. So that little spider logo that was at, like, the bottom base there, that was meant to originally just be glowing from that logo. Yeah, that entire bottom section started glowing because so much paint started peeling off. But it still works, like, functionally fine. Like, I'm glad to turn into, like, a spare mouse that I can use when I'm out of town. Or turn into, like, my new mouse when I'm at work. My mouse that I currently have at work is my original gaming mouse that looked like that. That had its scroll wheel kind of stop working as well. So maybe I'll just replace, like, my work mouse with that mouse that's in this graphic here. And, like, great. And then my scroll can be a little bit more functional. So, can never complain about having more functional mice around. That was a spider logo, spooky scary. That's what yours is. The one in the graphic here, I don't remember what it is. I could dig it out from one of my bags here somewhere, but that's what I was using for the past several years. And hello, Esper's Eyes. The reason why there's no Sylveon is because that's, like, my actual mouse pad that I have here. Here, I can move the wrong way. I can move it down here. Like, oh my god, too far. And I gotta turn off the tracking, or else it's gonna, like, try to reset itself. Down. You can see things like, that's my truck insurance, and little Mercury trucks, 3D printed axolotl, just random crap like that on my desk. Oh, and Gorilla Glue to glue stuff like 3D prints together. This is just what my mouse pad is. The reason why it's like this is because Sylveon didn't exist when this was made. I won this in a TCG tournament when Pokemon was in Generation 5. So I don't even remember if Sylveon was announced yet at the time this mouse pad was made, or this playmat. It's technically a Pokemon TCG playmat is what it was intended for. And clearly, like, wearing out with use and stuff like that. All this stuff is kind of peeling here. You can see the edges kind of coming off. I've used this a whole lot. But I won it in, like, a giveaway at a TCG tournament. I think it was the only Pokemon TCG event I ever went to. I won this mat here, and I've used it ever since. But there was no Sylveon at the time. It is before Sylveon's time. I've had this, and I've used it as a mouse pad for a very, very long time, considering before Sylveon's time. And because of that, it is wearing out a decent smidge here. There we go, turn the tracking back on there. Okay, so not what the one in the graphic is a G502 here. Okay, nice. so you got a new mouse here too recently, and it just so happens to be the exact same one. Except yours is just monocolor black, I presume. Whereas mine has the weird yellow with the red dots, and then red, kind of dark red brownish, oh god, where'd that fox go? Buttons. Because a dude that, I don't even know his name, I should have asked him his name while I was at JanLAN, did the mouse up for me. If I see him again at like a future Mega FPS event, I'm gonna have to thank him and be like, hey, I like the mouse, it's pretty cool. So how are you finding the mouse so far? Because it's been a learning curve for me. What? I'm pressing triangle. Oh, there we go. It's been a little bit of a learning curve for me, but like I'm slowly figuring it out and like having fun with it and stuff. And when I went to work today and I was using like my spare mouse, which again looks exactly like this one here, exact same look and feel, I had to like kind of get used to like the slots on the right side for my ring finger and my pinky finger, again being like, this feels different than I'm used to, because I'm used to my home mouse and my work mouse being like the exact same kind of thing. So I don't have those being the exact same anymore, and it threw me off a little bit during work the past couple days, I will admit. So yeah, I don't exactly have the consistency here. Oh, bird, will probably show me to this question mark. So yeah, enjoying the JanLAN mouse, but learning curve here. And oh, gosh dang it. Definitely fancier than mice I've had before. Is certainly the case. So yeah, that was definitely one of the more cool kind of prizes that was available at JanLAN this year. I think on the JanLAN Facebook page, like, that's the main social media / website for Mega FPS, is just a Facebook page. Like, if I look up Mega FPS here, like this, open this here, and then I go to, no, not events, I guess just discussion here. Let's see here, turn on display capture. You'll see that my profile picture is an old picture of my lizard there. Where was the, yeah, the thingamabob here. Where's the, like, main organizer, custom Logitech mouse prize. Yes, please, thanks Greg for doing that. Thanks, Greg! Hell yeah! So thanks to Greg for this. Greg's pretty cool then. I don't know how much work would have gone into this, but like, hey, it's working well for me. And I figured when it came to, yeah, thanks Greg. I figured when it came to JanLAN prizes, or Mega FPS prizes I should say, I won a monitor at Mega FPS last year that I take to events like Fragapalooza and the Mega FPS events. And it's one less monitor I have to dismantle here, which is especially great for Fragapalooza when I like to have an extra monitor to set up as another station for people to play Smash in my tournaments and stuff. So even though I don't use it like 99% of the times I do use it, it is very handy, and I'm grateful to have taken a monitor home. And I figure with a prize like that, it's like, yeah, I'm good when it comes to the prizing. Like, I don't have any expectations for winning anything else. Like, whoops, I did that by accident, just like swiping my thumb across there. Oh, it's just like a flower thing? Oh, a haiku right here that I missed. Whoops. Like, no expectations here. I'm very happy with what I've taken home there before. Like, it wasn't a new monitor, it was just one that, like, one of the organizers or volunteers, I guess, had brought along, being like, yeah, I don't need that monitor anymore. And hey, I use it. But yeah, going up there, getting, like, the chance to win another prize, and then seeing that, I was like, my mouse is starting to fall apart paint-wise, and it does look kind of fancy and cool. And then I could own, like, I used very basic mouse and keyboard for a long time. I just used, like, a $20 Microsoft keyboard, just, like, the bare basics kind of thing. And a basic Logitech mouse for a long time, just, like, a $15 kind of thing. Then eventually started doing, like, $30 gaming mice, so, like, lower end of things that have more buttons. Eventually upgrade my keyboard to, like, an actual fancier one that I've been using and enjoying since. And now I have a fancy mouse. So now I can say that I'm actually, like, a gamer with fancy equipment. When you come up to my setup and see my PC glowing, my light up RGB keyboard, and, like, the super fancy custom mouse, like, it actually looks all fancy schmancy now. When that hasn't been the case for most of the time that I've been gaming. That is a very, very recent thing. I got this keyboard, I think, sometime last year. So, yeah, there's a lot of RGB going on here now. It's kind of the case. The Scorpion from Mortal Kombat look on that other mouse there works well. My previous one was also a Logitech, so not much of a difference. Fair enough. So yeah, some similarities. Did you know you can remove the bottom of the mouse to insert weights? Yeah, that was one of the things that I guess Greg is his name, was telling me when I, wait, it was either Greg that was telling me or my little cousin that was telling me when he was looking at the mouse. I think it was actually my little cousin that was telling me when he was looking at the mouse and, like, knew a thing or two about it. So, like, in the box there's a weight that could be added for those that like weights in their mouse. I haven't tried it. Like, I don't really know what that's like, but it's cool that the option is there, you know? Hidden respite. Following the breeze. Watching over all. About a hidden respite. Also, looking on the camera there. Hello, DS Shock Trooper. How's it going? Looking at the camera there, Turtwig being knocked over is bugging me a little bit. Upright. Oh, I have my battery pack there. I can move that somewhere else here. I can move it right next to my broken chair arm that is broken like half the time. Like, and it broke again recently, so that's cool. There, upright, as the camera like half cuts him off anyway. Gently cleansing, stand refreshed. Deep breaths release to the wind. Cooling touch invigorates. Sure. Playing a little bit of Multiverses is gonna be shut down. Yeah, I heard about that. I played Multiverses once. I think it was at last year's JanLAN. He's sitting forward. It was at one of the Mega FPS events. I played on Cernal's PC, who was... If anyone's been around the stream here for a while, you might have seen Cernal once or twice in chat before. He pops by from time to time. Or anyone that's been tuning in for like a long time would have seen Cernal as one of the Smash Bros. Commentators at Fragapalooza 2019. The first year that I went and got introduced to Fragapalooza. I played it on Cernal's computer. I played against him a little bit at one of the Mega FPS events. I played Jake the dog because my name's Jake. I had a decent bit of fun, but like, I clearly knew like nothing about the game. And from what I heard from a lot of people, apparently it sounds like it had a lot of potential, but with like the way they handle it, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. But yeah, main Multiverse of the Rain Dog, he's a good boy. But is he a gooder boy than Jake the dog? Hastening forward. Prepared to change course. A new beginning. Ooh. A new beginning. Sure. I'm gonna do that one. Whoa, did something just pop out of existence in the bottom left? Let me look at the stream manager. Yeah, a whole bunch of like steam effects or smoke effects or something. This game is pretty fun, but it is a decent bit buggy, I will admit. Like, it's not like Ubisoft game buggy. Slay! Trophy earned! But, and it's definitely not that interfering with the gameplay much, glitch-wise, but it is definitely like slightly irksome, kind of glitch-wise. Headband of Peace, a hidden respite, cooling touch invigorates, a new beginning. Jake is toxic, bad dog, stupid dog, what? No way! I loved watching Adventure Time. After my cousins from BC ended up introducing it to me. One more thing that I want to talk about before getting too much of this stream underway. Another thing I looked into with this game was the lethal difficulty, and like, information about it, because I was a little bit curious. I guess that'd be gameplay. Yeah, so lethal. Death is always close at hand. A single sword strike is lethal. And when I was setting up like the description information for like this series, I always have in the bottom of like my YouTube descriptions all the game information. So like the game name, the platform that's being played on, the difficulty I'm playing on, when the game released, when is DLC released, stuff like that. So if you want like any of the key game information like that, you don't have to Google, you can just like look in the description and it's easily right there. And when I was looking into stuff that came out, and when I was looking into the difficulty modes, I found out that lethal wasn't actually in this game at launch. This game actually launched with easy, medium, and hard, and that's probably why this is called the Ultimate Challenge. And then lethal was added sometime later. How much later? 10 days. So like, just a week and 3 days. 10 days later. That's not very long later at all in like one of the patches. And they were like, oh yeah, we patched in a new difficulty mode, lethal. So it seems strange that that wouldn't be in the game at launch to be coming out like 10 days later instead. Like, I know I've seen that happen in some games before, like Fire Emblem Three Houses with its maddening difficulty. That came out sometime later. But that was a decent smidge later. I think it was like a couple months later, something like that. Like, I only started playing the hardest difficulty as of my third playthrough, because it was only out as of my third playthrough. It came out like, I think in around the midpoint of my second playthrough, something like that, when I was rushing through the game pretty fast, so the game had probably been out for like a couple months, I don't know. But just 10 days after releasing a difficulty mode, it's like, oh, that's odd. Like, maybe it was in response to, like, player feedback. Like, maybe hard was a little bit too easy for some players, and some players were like, I want more, or something. I don't know. And when I was looking into the difficulty modes, it's not just a standard, like, this is the easiest, this is the hardest. It's more like this goes easy to hard, and this is, like, another kind of category almost. Yeah, that's what I found out, is that lethal is kind of for, like, realism kind of difficulty. So, as I found out by looking into it, apparently the other difficulties have enemies actually take a little bit longer to kill. Like, they have a little bit more of a health bar to whittle down, which I guess is similar to the Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode that I played briefly, which was the multiplayer mode, where I actually needed to, like, slash at enemies a decent bit to kill them, but they also had to slash at me a decent bit to kill me. And apparently lethal mode not only makes it difficult in that 1 or 2 slashes on you and you're dead, but it also makes your sword a lot more powerful, and you 1 to 2 shot enemies. So I thought that this was just like the standard hardest difficulty, and they were just 1 to 2 shotting me, but that it was like the normal gameplay experience to be 1 to 2 shotting them. Turns out it's not. Normally you would be like whittling away their health a little bit more with things like hard mode or medium, or I don't know how much it would be with easy. But apparently, like, it's a whole nother way of playing the game. Like, it's meant to be a realistic mode, where it's like you can shred the enemies, like, it would be realistic in that just 1 or 2 slashes and they're dead. Like, maybe 3 on the tough guys. But the same goes for you. Like, it's a really big swing that hits you. Yeah, you die. Or the littler guys, 1 or 2 slashes or a spear poke twice, you're just dead. Or like an arrow and then a spear poke, yeah, you're dead. And I find that kind of interesting. And I've talked for a long time about how I don't really like hardest difficulty modes that just buff up the enemies so insanely much and like weaken you down so insanely much. I like hardest difficulties that change the way you play the game. Like, I always talk about The Last of Us Grounded mode, where it takes away your UI of like your health. You need to pay attention to, like, is there red around the screen? Is the character clutching their chest? It doesn't show you your currently equipped gun and ammo. You just gotta remember which one you equipped and see which one they're holding. And you gotta remember to reload. There was a couple times that, like, enemies were charging at me, and, like, I would go to shoot them, and then the gun would go click, like, because it's not loaded. I'd be like, oh, crap! And then they'd kill me. And I would be like, yep, that's very deserved. I forgot to reload my firearm. So then I respawn, and I immediately reload my firearm. And, like, it feels like such a deserved death. And, like, I had a lot of fun playing Grounded mode. And apparently in the lesser modes, you can, like, hold a button and, like, see enemies through walls, similar to the... I forget what the name of this mode is in this game. But in Grounded mode, you don't have that. You need to actually just, like, preferably be playing with headphones. Turn your volume up, pay close attention to, like, context, sounds, what you can see, and, like, figure out where people are, and make plans accordingly. You need to actually pay attention. So, Grounded mode, rather than just making, like, enemies the tankiest dudos ever that take, like, forever to kill, and make it so that you'll just die, like, immediately, like a lot of games will do, like Ubisoft hardest difficulties with, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, where I haven't been the biggest fan of difficulty modes. It makes it more difficult in that all this information that it would be telling you, and then you can strategize because the game has just told you everything you need to know, you gotta figure it out yourself and keep mental track, and it's more realistic, and I had a lot of fun playing that. Like, I love hardest difficulties that change how the game is played. I feel like the hardest difficulty that changes how it's played that this mode is most similar to is probably Persona 5 Royal's Merciless mode, where it's like, yep, all weaknesses that are hit are, like, super amplified. So you can absolutely destroy your opponents, but they can absolutely destroy you too. So it's like you're constantly running glass cannon builds, and you have to play, like, very carefully. But you can also, like, destroy enemies so fast, apart from bosses, that have no weaknesses, and then it is also just genuinely really hard. And I had a lot of fun playing Persona 5 Merciless. And now that I realize that this is, like, a mode where both I'm getting shredded, but I'm also shredding enemies, more so than the other modes, it's like, oh, that's actually kind of cool, and I think I have a bit more respect for this mode now. So, I'm kind of into lethal mode here, and now I can't really imagine playing this game any other way. I don't think I'd want to play this game any other way, even if I am getting, like, completely wrecked sometimes. Yeah, let's see here. Which is fair. It's nice because it's a way to balance a hard difficulty. You are a glass cannon, but so are the enemies. Yeah, and it's kind of fun. Like, I don't really have that much fun playing something like Valhalla where it's like, I could get 1 to 2 shot at any given time. And I have to just whittle away very slowly on enemy, make one tiny mistake, and I die. Whereas this is like, hey, the enemy just needs a small opening, but I also just need a small opening. And you could argue that it's fair. Like, it feels balanced in like a realistic kind of world. Another thing that this changed is apparently, when I was looking into it, the parry timing, like if you want to parry blocks and dodge, the timing for those is like less generous. So I don't know how generous it is in easy, medium, and hard, but apparently it's less generous here. And that's probably why, like, there has been so many instances where I've been like, what? I hit dodge, I hit parry, and it not working because I think, like, lethal demands more precision than I, as someone playing the game for the very first time, was able to have at first. I'm getting better at it now. Like, I'm getting more used to it. Like, I would prefer if this game also had, like, a training mode. Like, one thing I really liked in Final Fantasy 16 is it has a training room, and you can toggle things on that show you the timing for things. So there's, like, Torgal Sick timing, or there's things like Magic Burst timing, and it'll show, like, a little flash on the icon on the bottom of the screen while you're in training mode, of like when you have to hit the button to get the timing. So I'd really like if there was a training mode in this game for parry timing and dodge timing, because it feels like you have to hit the button a lot earlier than in other games that I'm used to. Other games I'm used to, I kind of hit it like right as the enemy is making contact with me, but in this game it feels very much like I have to do it in advance. So in other games, if I block when the enemy's swing is here, in this game, I kind of have to hit parry or dodge when the enemy's swing is here. Like, I have to do it preemptively, which kind of makes sense, but it's something that I'm very not used to, and I feel like having a training mode would be, like, a better way to get used to it. That also shows me, did I hit it too early? Did I hit it too late? Instead of just not knowing, dying, and being like, oh, I messed up the timing, but, like, was it too early? Was it too late? I don't really know. So, I do feel like this game could benefit with a training mode from that. It has also gotten a lot easier now that I have, like, this equipped that just extends the window and makes it more generous. I don't know if that makes it, like, as generous as an easy, medium, and hard now that I have this equipped, or how exactly it works, but I can't imagine taking it off now because, yeah, it is a little bit scary. So that is one complaint that I have about the game. The timing is weird, and with practice you can get it, but I wish that there was an easier way to practice it, and it gave you feedback about whether it was too early or too late, so that you could, like, really get it, you know? I kind of liked it. But yeah, that difficulty ruined that boss fight against the Space Burger guy. You should have had played on hard instead. Yeah, Okamura, I think was his name, right? Man, that boss. And the fact that there was a timer that was counting down to your death, and there's dialogue during the boss, which you can skip, and then the timer, like, stays at the same amount. But if you actually listen to what the boss says, like, the timer still continues going down. So if you want the story, you're nerfed in the boss, and it's one of the... That's gotta be, like, one of my least favorite bosses in gaming. Personally, I prefer tanky enemies to glass cannon as you for higher difficulty. I guess it depends on the game, but I've heard that Revengeance mode on Metal Gear Rising isn't hard because of how OP it makes parrying. Interesting. Same with Heaven or Hell and Devil May Cry games, which are more so treated like weird bonus difficulty, while DMD is the real hardest. I've heard people say that about, like, Persona 5 as well, where it's like hard mode is the real hardest as opposed to Merciless, because in Merciless you can just, like, shred enemies so much. So, I'm sure there's a few games that are like that, where they change it in such a way where you could make arguments about what the actual hardest difficulty is. But, yeah, I kind of like things that change it. And I don't mind enemies that are, like, a decent bit tanky and a bit of a challenge to take down, as long as it's not so long that it's boring, and as long as I don't get, like, completely shredded in the process. I think the worst instigator of that was Nier Replicant's hard mode. Like, oh my god, the enemies just took so long in that game. One part of the game, I figured out this enemy could just never hit me if I just ran in circles around it, so I kept on holding the magic button to just, like, keep on pew 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 magic at him, and I spun in circles around him, and then I got a rubber band, and I taped it around my control stick, or wrapped it around my control stick, so I'd keep on looping around him to the left, and I put, like, some sort of weight on my right trigger to keep the magic going, and then I just played another game for like an hour or something like that, while Near Replicant was like a tiny little box in the corner of the screen, as like this health bar very slowly went down. Then after like an hour of playing this other game, he eventually died, and I was able to keep on playing in advance at that point. And I was basically encouraged to play that way, because if this guy hit me like once, I just die, and have to restart the entire thing from the beginning. Like, it was so dumb. One of the funniest stories that I can tell when it comes to a boss fight in a video game. But, yeah, there's definitely a too much when it comes to tankiness, for sure. Oh, man. But yeah, let's see here. What else did I miss here? Oh yeah, speaking of games I normally don't like, I'm trying Fire Emblem again. Echo Shadows of Valencia. Oh, nice. Yeah, Shadows of Valencia is a really good game. I feel like it could have used more challenge, though. Like, it is really easy, I find, even on hard mode. Like, admittedly, a lot of Fire Emblem games' hardest difficulties really make me go, whoa, the developers really thought this was okay. Just look at, like, Awakening's Lunatic Plus with the bullshit skills. Or Fire Emblem Engage is maddening, especially during the Fel Xenologue, with just, like, 12 ambush spawn reinforcements every turn. It's like, who thought this was okay? So, admittedly, Fire Emblem does go a bit much when it comes to their hardest difficulties sometimes. Like, I do wish that it would just tone down on a little bit of the bullshit. I mean, usually the hardest difficulties are, like, really good, well-crafted experiences early on, and then you get to the end and it's just bullshit. Like Engage. But Shadows of Valencia is, like, a really easy game, I find. Like, even playing on hard mode. Like, I've never played on normal mode, but even playing on hard mode, I found it, like, pretty easy. So I feel like it could be, like, a great kind of entry experience, even playing on that difficulty. And yeah, the story in it is definitely great. By the way, did you hear that Nintendo lost a lawsuit against a supermarket? Yes, I did, actually. Where the supermarket was called, like, Super Mario or something like that. And they've been around longer than Mario has. And Nintendo was trying to sue them for the name, and they were like, what? We've been around longer and, like, have no association with you. And they lost the lawsuit against the supermarket. But yeah. And yeah, by the way, Shadows of Valencia has Revival, so it's pretty forgiving on Classic. Yeah, it can be in that sense. Just hate the oops, an enemy got a critical, say goodbye to your units BS. Yes, I've rambled about that before, where I play Classic just because I like to play on the hardest difficulties on this channel. That doesn't mean I like Classic. Like, Permadeath was very much designed for, like, the first Fire Emblem, where there was countless conditions for getting new units, where it's like, you were meant to be getting so many units that it was okay to be losing some, and some units you would only get if you lost other units along the way. Like, let's say you lost this unit, that means this unit appears in this chapter and you can recruit them. Or you lost X amount of units, then the game will give you these units. Like, the first game was designed with the permadeath in mind, to replace the forces that you lost and find your way through with whatever characters you ended up getting. Fire Emblem games after that point, haven't really done that as much, and the modern ones put in classic mode just for, like, the long-time Fire Emblem fans. But that's not really the way Fire Emblem games are designed anymore. They haven't been for a long, long time. Like, they're designed to get, like, a decent handful of units throughout the game that all have, like, very distinct personalities and supports and are meant to be characters that you keep throughout, like, the whole game, unless you're trying to, like, challenge yourself with an Iron Man run, I guess. But they're not meant to be ones that you can just be like, oh no, I lost a unit! Well, maybe I'll get some new ones coming up and it'll be okay. Like, that's really not the way Fire Emblem games are anymore. So, I feel like the permadeath, from what I've heard, I haven't actually played Fire Emblem 1, sounds like it worked well for the system it was designed for, where there was programmed replacements. But that's not the case anymore, and Classic is just kind of put in obligatory? Is that a word? Like obligation, turn that into atori. Obligatory? I don't know. Whatever the correct term is there. Inclusion for those that want that. But I do not think that it's good game design, even though it's what I play in all my Fire Emblem playthroughs. So yeah, that makes it all the more interesting, plus some pressure to prioritize enemies and account for criticals. I think it's okay if there's, like, the Divine Pulse kind of thing, where there was Milla's Turn Wheel, I think that was the one in Shadows of Valencia, and then there was Divine Pulse in Three Houses, and then there was the Dragon Stone, the Time Crystal, whatever the hell it was, in Engage, where it's like, so many times in a battle you could rewind time and redo it and rethink your strategy. So it's like you lose someone, and losing one person means you have to rewind and redo it and rethink your strategy, and that can be really engaging. And then it's not just like, oops, one easy crit. Guess that's an hour and a half down the drain, because that's a really shitty feeling when you've been on a map for like 1 to 2 hours. One lucky crit. there it goes. Because it was just one small mistake, which with the ability to rewind with like save states or like Divine Pulse or something like that, you could just undo and rethink and show that you've grown from that mistake immediately. Like, all it does is it disrespects your time by taking that away when you've spent like so long on the map. So I'm really not a fan of the permadeath in that sense, but I've started liking Classic more in recent years with the ability to rewind, and it's why I've started using save states on my older Fire Emblem playthroughs, like playing through Fire Emblem Blazing Blade a year or two ago, and if I start Binding Blade this year, I will be using save states sometimes, because I don't want to be just like, oh, I'm 2 hours into this map, but I made like a tiny misinput, or an enemy got a lucky crit. Guess I gotta redo that entire 2 hours over again right from the beginning just because I made a tiny mistake. Like, I don't like that feeling. I don't like the feeling of my time being wasted. I want to feel like I'm actually contributing, like, my time meaningfully. And that 2 hours that would go down the drain if I chose to actually reset instead of save stating could instead be 2 hours that invests into the next game. Like, I would beat the game I'm currently playing 2 hours sooner, and then that's 2 more hours that I can put into the next game that I might not have time to play otherwise. So I've started wanting to play games a little bit more efficiently. Like, if I wanted to do, like, a challenge run, then obviously, like, I would not be using, like, save states or anything. But I've stopped caring about that as much as I have been caring more about just getting, like, the general experience from the game, getting, like, a sense for what it's about, being able to talk about it in the future, having, like, a shared experience with other players. I like that a whole lot more than being able to say, like, I got through the entire thing without save states. Like, it's not that important to me. I'd rather just have more time and play more games, and then I have more experiences that I can share and stuff. But yeah, since we're sharing game findings, remember this time in Mario Strikers 1 where the enemy goalie had the ball, threw it towards the CPU, right before said character got hit by a big shell, the ball bounced off the shell, past the goalie, and threw it into his own goal. Nice. But yeah, wait, Shadows of Valentia has in-turn backtracking, so even in Classic you can mitigate the crits. Yeah, that's another really forgiving aspect of Shadows of Valentia. It's the game that started that. FE isn't designed for, oh no, anyways moments. Yeah, except for Fire Emblem 1. Except for that one. And welcome back, Anima. Yeah, Shadow Dragon there. And then it was, well, I think, was Shadow Dragon the name of the remake, and the actual Fire Emblem 1 was Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, I believe it was the proper title? Where's my nerd glasses? Actually, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. Or whatever the heck. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's the other way around. But I believe that's the case. I own it on my Switch because I was one of the stupid suckers that got the 35th anniversary thing where it was temporarily available. Obligatorily? Yeah, that then. That's the version of the word I was looking for. Although if you want to play that, you're better off playing like the DS remake. Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's been more updated versions. There's the remake of Fire Emblem 1 and Fire Emblem 3 on the DS. Though I think the remake of Fire Emblem 3 is Japan exclusive, but I think there's fan translations of it, if I recall. So Marth's games are 1 and 3, with 2 Gaiden being what Shadows of Valentia was a remake of. So it was like first game, different adventure, sequel to the first game is kind of like the order they went. But yeah. Bye. Yes. Though all FE games have fan-made translations, so you can get around it. Yeah, for sure. When it comes to that. Actually, FE1 title is Japanese, not English, so yeah, I guess we don't really know then. FE1 is technically not on the Switch in English. Like, it sort of is, and it sort of isn't. So, it's an NES game. You cannot get it through the NES online on, like, Thingamabob with a subscription service. Instead, it was only available as, like, a limited time download if you bought the Fire Emblem Special 35th Anniversary Collector's Edition box set, which included a download code that let you download Fire Emblem 1 with, like, the first official English translation onto your Nintendo Switch, with things like save states in this version. If you didn't get that, you're out of luck. You're never playing, like, that version of Fire Emblem 1. Like, you're never gonna be able to play, like, the official translated version of Fire Emblem 1 on the Nintendo Switch. It's not happening. So, yeah. I think it was shortly after Super Mario 3D All-Stars, if memory serves. It was around the time that Nintendo was doing a lot of shitty things like that. Yeah, okay, so remake of FE3 in NES is Japan. Japan exclusive. Okay, so I remembered right there. Shadow Dragon, the Blade of Light is OG, remake is just Shadow Dragon. Okay. But yeah, have an amiibo thing for Scarlet and Violet, nice. Those are super rare. There's apparently a spin-off Wikipedia. The spin-off that Wikipedia lists as BS Fire Emblem. What? Here, let's go to this now. And I can, like, ramble along the way. Wow, my back is so itchy here.